Hi, I wanted to talk about scriptures in the Bible that refer to Nephilim, which are the fallen angels um, who had sexual relations with the women on earth. Because I know a lot of people don't believe that. I mean, I've even had someone in my family say, well, angels can't have sex, they don't have genitals. However, angels were and still are able to take the form of humans when they help people. However, the fallen angels decided to take the form of humans and act like a human, and disobey God's laws. So when you transform yourself into another form, which was a human, you're going to have the genitals and everything that goes with it, you know, of the form that you're trying to change into, which makes sense. So Genesis 6, for those of you who are not yet aware, is where the first reference I ever was introduced to talks about, the sons of God, which are the fallen angels. And here are some more verses to help you with this concept that is not talked about a lot, and never talked about in church when I went to Catholic church, and a lot in the Bible studies that I had once with another religion. They didn't mention it either. So, okay. So first off, Satan wants to be like a god. And Ezekiel 28:12 is an example of a tyrant believing he is God. Okay, and that is disobedience. So 2 Thessalonians 2 to verse 4, he opposeth and exalted himself above all there is called good, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, swelling himself that he is God. Okay? If you can think for a moment, a lot of stars will say, I'm God, and then that new age annotation, the book Secrets, was it? Talked about how we're all little gods, and it's very easy to get sucked into that, the power that we have. Yes, we have power, but we're not, God per se, and you got to be real careful with that, because we are to obey one God, not ourselves as if we're the only God that matters. There are many gods which are evil ones. However, I digress. So, what's the other verse? Ezekiel 28:6-7 says, Therefore, thus said the Lord God, because thou hast set thy heart as the heart of God, behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of thy kingdom, and they will defile thy brightness, etc. Ezekiel 28:18 describes how God will punish Satan. Isaiah 14:13-14 describes what Satan, Lucifer, has said in his heart about being above God. That's Isaiah 14, verses 13 and 14. Okay, now this is really important. Here's a verse that attests to what we talked about. Jude 6, from which the angels had disrobed. Disrobed. Why are they talking about angels disrobing? That means they're taking on a different form and they're not looking like angels anymore. 2 Corinthians verse 5. Well, no, 2 Corinthians 5:2 says, alluding to the heavenly body in which the believer longs to be clothed. Okay, Jude 6:7, and the angels which kept not their first estates, but left their own habitation, he had reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day, and compares it to Sodom and Gomorrah. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh are set forth, for example, sorry about that, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. 2 Corinthians 5, 1 and 2, compare verses, okay? Post-flood Nephilim. Now, there was a great flood, the flood Noah everybody talks about. That was actually to get rid of the Nephilim, which were the hybrids, the giants in those days that were created from the angels, who were very tall, having sexual relations and getting the women pregnant. Okay, so Joshua, in Genesis 14:15, Joshua was told to wipe out a Rephaim child, so spelled Rephaim, and then there's Emim, and then there's Horim, and then there's Zamsumim. Those are all forms of Nephilim. Okay, so Numbers 13:33. There are more references to giants, which are Arba, Anak, and his 7 sons, Amkin, encountered in Canaan. They were Nephilim hybrids. Oh, Canaan, excuse me. Og, king of Bashan, Bashan, Deuteronomy 3:11, and Joshua 12, I believe that says. So Goliath, which is one of the most famous stories, and his 4 brothers, he had 4 brothers. 2 Samuel 21:16-22 verses. 1 Corinthians 20, verses 4-8. That's why David picked up 5 stones to be ready for all of them, meaning there were 5 altogether, Goliath and his 4 brothers. So, these are all references, and I think they're really important, so you can look them up and check out the stories about the giants back in the days, which were really, really tall and not anything that people had seen before. And how did they come about? Happy studying.